And hello, friends and family. Thursday edition of Bet is on your screen right now. I'm Tyler Fulghum. She is Erin Dolan. We'll be running the two-person game back and forth on a jam-packed Thursday edition of Bet. Lindsey Thiry will be joining us a little bit later to break down the NFC Championship game with the Rams and the 49ers. We have a couple of NBA games tonight, and of course, championship weekend in the NFL. So, Erin, we got a black and red thing going. We look like Tiger Woods on Sunday at Augusta. I'm wearing the red, you got the black. I hope the people like the aesthetic we brought today.
Yeah, I mean, we got the Tiger Woods book behind me. I guess maybe that was the vibe we were going for today.
I like it. We look good, and when you look good, you feel good, you play good. So let's play good here for the next 30 minutes here on Bet. Remember, if you need any gambling advice, content, analysis, videos, ESPN's YouTube channel, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting is where you can find it. Erin, as you know, on Thursday, we like to flash our mental power, our mental horsepower with the game, The Good Word. You know the deal. I'm going to read you a statement. I'll read the same statement to myself, and then we each come up with a single word after hearing this statement and give the reasons why. So let's get a kick started first and foremost. The first statement I'm going to read to you, and yes, this is true. The Kansas City Chiefs, 7-point favorites at home against Cincinnati in the AFC title game. They are favored for their 13th consecutive playoff game. What is your good word?
Unsurprising. So what's interesting about this is they're actually breaking a tie with the 2014-18 New England Patriots. At the time, Tom Brady was with that team. He is the GOAT. But Patrick Mahomes, he might be the new GOAT. He's actually the first NFL player to play in 4 conference championship games before turning 27. He has the opportunity to potentially play in his 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is no joke, and we know the Chiefs are good. That's why they opened as the preseason favorite at plus 500. You're lucky if you're able to get them at 13-1. That was after they lost to the Tennessee Titans. Then they ripped off 8 straight wins. The Chiefs are so good that it's not, surprising that they are favored for 13 straight games. Well, that's absolutely a great accomplishment. They just have everything that they need offensively and defensively to kind of get it done. And we already have the look-ahead lines for the Super Bowl. They're going to be favored in that one too, so you might as well make it 14 at this point if they win.
Unsurprising that I forgot the R in spelling unsurprising. So next time, Erin, do your boy a favor here and come up with a word that has a fewer letters in it, please. My word is going to be Goliath, because that's what this Kansas City Chiefs team is. They are the Goliath right now in the NFL. However, as we know in this old fable, David versus Goliath, it was David that beat Goliath eventually. Eventually, as a big favorite, the Chiefs are going to lose. They're not going to win every Super Bowl till the end of time. Maybe the Cincinnati Bengals can be that David and pull off the big upset here with the way Joe Burrow has been playing, the confidence, the swagger. I, again, would not be betting against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I would not be betting on Joe Burrow, but I think those that dismiss the Bengals as having no chance are not realizing just how good Joe Burrow is. But there is no doubt that Mahomes and the Chiefs, especially when they're on their home turf at Arrowhead, have earned the moniker of a Goliath in the postseason in recent years. So that one, I think, I pretty much spelled correctly. All right, now to the NFC, Erin. The San Francisco 49ers, man, they have owned this matchup as of late with the LA Rams. In fact, they have won 6 straight games against the LA Rams, 5 of those as the outright underdog. What is your good word?
I'll give you an easy one. Hot. As in the 49ers are so hot in this situation. That's what kind of scares me about this. We still have them at plus 3.5, and it's interesting that line hasn't even continued to move down. Maybe, Joe Fortenbaugh had talked about it on Daily Wager this week. He thought it was going to be a line of 2.5, but the 49ers keep figuring out ways to win. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Packers. Both those teams were talked about all season as, contenders to actually win it all. The 49ers, meanwhile, after their Week 8 loss to the Cardinals, they were 125-1 to win the Super Bowl. Nobody was really talking about the 49ers, but now they're in the situation where they're facing the Rams, conference championship on the line, and it just feels like, to me, the Rams still haven't figured out a way to beat this team. Clearly, like you mentioned, they've won 6 straight. Some things that I'm concerned about in terms of the Rams: turnovers, interceptions. They jump out to that huge lead, but then they seem to kind of not be able to sustain that great defense in the second half. So a little worried about that.
Yeah, I prefer the Zoolander spelling of hot. like Hansel, so hot right now, H-A-W-T. So I do know how to spell it H-O-T, but what's the fun in that? That's not quite as fun. All right, my word, as an LA Rams fan, annoying. I'm tired of hearing about this, that the Niners have won 6 straight games. Ugh, God, gag me with a spoon. It's so annoying. But they've earned it. The storyline speaks for itself. There's not really anything I can do about it. And I should say I'm not an LA Rams fan. I'm a Rams fan. Stan Kroenke. But it looks like what's going to be annoying for the Rams in this matchup in the NFC title game is that, once again, it'll be 40, 50, maybe even more percent San Francisco 49ers fans at SoFi Stadium. And that Matt Stafford might, again, annoyingly, might have to go to a silent count while on offense inside his home building. But we know that the Niners fans are going to travel down there and remind any Rams fans they see, and Matthew Stafford when he's on offense, and Aaron Dolan and Von Miller when he's on defense, that they own this rivalry, 6 straight wins. But yet again, it's the Rams that are favored, so it's been annoying having to listen to 49ers fans and this whole entire thing about them dominating the rivalry. Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay. All right, third and final prop here. And the good word, overs are 4-0 in the last 2 seasons of Conference Championship weekend. Erin, what good word do you have for that?
Trendy, as in some of these trends that we're starting to see, like the one you just talked about, they're just like trendy trends. Like this is all situational. These are not the same teams that have just played in those last 4 games that you had just mentioned, with all of them hitting the over. Again, situational. We have the first game between the Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. The last time these 2 teams played, they combined for 65 points. A lot of people are betting that over. In fact, majority of the public money is already on that over, pushing that line up. It opened 53.5, and this total is as high as it was with the Bills versus Kansas City. I'm not sure the Bengals are going to be able to put up that many points once again, despite, the Chiefs defense is not great. Then in that later game, you have a situation with the 49ers and Rams. I already mentioned it. The 49ers last 2 games have held opponents to 13.5 points. That was the Cowboys and the Packers, and that was on the road. That is pretty impressive. So keep those things in mind. But again, all these trends, they're just situational.
Is there a favorite trend that you used to rock back in the day when you were a middle schooler or high schooler, Erin, that maybe you regret now all these years later?
Oh, man. Remember the word gauchos from Limited 2? I don't know
Yes.
if you'd remember that. But gauchos were these pants that were like, I don't know, they were cut off, and everybody had them in 4th grade for our picture day. I went to Catholic school, so as soon as you were allowed to wear a different outfit to school, you were showing out, and everybody wore gauchos from Limited 2 that were like khaki color. It was disgusting.
I used to rock in like 7th or 8th grade the Jinkos, the wildly baggy skater pants that had like, you could fit your entire body inside one leg of them, especially at the bottom. That was, back in the mid to late 90s, back when Clueless and Tony Hawk was running the street.
Were you a kid that wore Heelys?
I didn't have Heelys, but I had the ones that had the grind plate in the middle. It wasn't the Heelys, but they had the grind plate, so I could run in them and then jump and grind rails when I went to Subway and got suicides at the fountain. So some unremarkable trends, but that's the thing with trends. They come and they go. Maybe this trend will come and go. My word is split, because I'm split on the 2 games in this particular Conference Championship weekend. I do see a shootout happening despite the high total in Kansas City. I think we see something similar to what happened when these 2 teams played just a couple weeks ago in Cincinnati. It was a 34-31 game that the Bengals won, 65 points. I would not be shocked again if the total goes over 60 with these 2 teams. I think both offenses are going to light up the field at Arrowhead. On the other side, I think in the NFC title game, that's an under. You mentioned how well the San Francisco 49er defense is playing, especially against the competition on the road. Now they get a home game at SoFi against the Rams, and not only is San Francisco's defense playing awesome, but the Rams' defense has been playing well in this postseason. They made Kyler Murray see ghosts in the divisional round, and let's be honest, the defense absolutely dominated against Tom Brady and the Bucs. It was just the 4 turnovers and extra possessions that the Rams' offense gave Tom Brady and the Bucs that allowed them to get back in that game. It wasn't anything the defense did. Tom Brady was seeing ghosts. He had 17 pressures from Aaron Donald and Von Miller. Besides the one play where Mike Evans got behind Jalen Ramsey, that was really the only error the Rams' defense made against the Bucs. If not for those turnovers, the Rams may have won that game 37-13 instead of it being just a 3-point game. So I am split on that trend continuing this week. I see one game, the AFC, going over. I see the NFC game going under as well. All right, we'll get back to the NFL in just a second here, Aaron, but let's pivot now to the association. Your team, the Philadelphia 76ers, playing my team, because I'm a LeBron guy, the LA Lakers tonight. Doubleheader, just 2 games to discuss in the NBA. The Lakers right now the 9th seed in the Western Conference. So that would put them in playoff play-in range. They wouldn't get an automatic berth to the postseason. You look at the futures market for this team, Aaron, to make the postseason, you got to lay $4.75 for them to make the postseason. And right now they're the 9th seed. On the other hand, if you think they're going to stumble down the stretch, plus 340, some good value for them to miss the postseason. Now, the postseason does count for those 9th and 10 seeds. If you make the playoff play-in, that counts. So ultimately, Aaron, do you see value on either side of this future? Would you be betting, laying the 475 to make the playoffs, or do you think it's a worthwhile risk that they don't and try and get that good ROI?
Well, I mean, I don't recommend anybody ever betting yes into this market just because it's minus 475, and that's just an absolutely absurd bet to ever be placing. But I'm not even going to take them on to miss the playoffs at the same time. I'm staying away from this market altogether. But if I was to kind of give a recommendation in this, is we're kind of in a situation with the Lakers that we were last season when they had to play in that play-in game. They ended up losing and whatnot eventually in the playoffs, and it just feels like we're talking about the Lakers before the season, that they're going to win it all. They're going to be so great. And then it's just so many things have been happening throughout this season that happened last season. You have AD who's injured. LeBron James is looking great, like an MVP candidate once again. Same situation as last season. Then he got injured because he was carrying the team. The Russell Westbrook thing is not working out. I don't see the Lakers by any means making it to, the NBA Finals and winning it. In terms of making it into the playoffs, it's crazy that that's even a conversation. I don't like the odds on either of these really, because plus 340 tells me that they still think that the Lakers have a huge shot into making the playoffs, and obviously minus 475 tells us that as well. But I'm not going to bet against them to not make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's just a market that has no appeal to me. I'm not laying 475 for them to make the playoffs. That's just wildly inflated. And then there's just not enough value to miss the playoffs at plus 340. Maybe if it was plus 500, plus 600, okay, there's a nice little ROI. If, again, LeBron gets hurt or AD goes down again, then that, of course, would strengthen the odds that they miss the postseason. But this is just not a market that attracts me or appeals to me on either side. And it's like because the Lakers are such a public team. When you have those public teams, the lines are usually not worth investing in. Find something that's a little more attractive, a little juicier. Just stay away from this market altogether is my advice, along with yours as well, Aaron. All right, now let's get to the Lakers tonight. As I mentioned, in Philly playing your 76ers. Don't know if LeBron's going to play or not. We'll see. We saw the Lakers go out and beat the Brooklyn Nets, where LeBron looked vintage with 33 points, AD returned. We know how your boy Joel Embiid is playing right now like a league MVP. Sixers laying 4, total of 217. A couple of questionable tag, I should say, on LeBron. How are you approaching this game tonight, Aaron?
Yes, I saw the markets close down for LeBron so far, but I'm going to play Embiid over points and rebounds. Now, this is going to be a very popular market to bet into, and I will say last game against the Pelicans, it was 41.5. It's now 44.5 for this game, but again, you have a Lakers squad that's not great on defense. They're ranked 26th actually on the season, but Joel Embiid, the last 4 games, like you mentioned, looking like an MVP candidate. It's insane. He's averaging 42 points and 12 boards in the last 4 games. This man is on fire. It's his 6th game with at least 40 points and 10 rebounds this season. He's breaking records left and right. Plus, the Lakers, they allow opponents to shoot 66% at the rim. Embiid should hit over 44.5 points and rebounds.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against Embiid right now, carrying that team. Of course, Ben Simmons hasn't been there all year long. Some other key rotation pieces have been hurt, but Embiid's just been an absolute monster. I think Shaq called him the baddest man in the NBA right now. I'm going to play that Lakers team total under 106.5, and basically what I'm trying to do here is beat the market to LeBron not playing. If he doesn't show up, I love this bet. But this is a pace down spot for the Lakers, one of the fastest teams in the NBA on the road at Wells Fargo. We know that the 76ers are not a team that likes to drive the pace because the focal point of their team on both ends of the floor is a 275-pound, 290-pound center. So they are methodical with their pace. It'll be a pace down for the Lakers, and especially if LeBron is out the way he's been playing, scoring 30 every night, and then you turn over that usage to either a Russell Westbrook who's been wildly inefficient, and Anthony Davis was just playing in his, second game since coming back from injury, I think the offense is going to struggle a little bit in this game. So I'm trying to maybe beat the market to LeBron being out of the lineup. If he is in the lineup, then I don't like this bet. But then you're not going to get that value. The total is probably going to shoot up if LeBron is in the game. They'll probably get up to 220 as a total, and then the Lakers total will probably go up a few points to 108, 109, something like that. So just a gut that LeBron is out tonight, although it is a nationally televised game, and he usually likes to play in those. Second game of our doubleheader, Warriors hosting the T-Wolves. Warriors a 6.5-point favorite on their home floor. A much higher total here of 229.5 for this tip-off. How are you looking at this one, Edie?
I'm looking to take Minnesota first quarter +2. Now, Minnesota in the last 10 games are 8-1-1 against the spread in that first quarter. They're actually 29-17-1 against the spread in the first quarter on the season, the second best mark. I think they'll be able to do this because the first game that they played in against this team, they were up by 8 in that first quarter. Again, Steph Curry did not play in that game. But in the second one, they were only down by 2, so that would have technically been a push. But nonetheless, they come out pretty hot, so I do expect them to be able to cover that first quarter.
All right, I like the under here, 229.5. The Warriors are an under team. They have been all season long. The T-Wolves have been pushing the pace, which concerns me a little bit, but I do think this will be a game that comes under that total of 229.5. I do want to mention as well a player prop, Kevon Looney, over 8.5 rebounds. Gone over this in 6 of his last 7 games. And I know if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, ESPN Sports Betting on YouTube, you will see a YouTube short next to this video where I explain why I love Kevon Looney over 8.5 rebounds. All right, Erin, back to the National Football League and that NFC Championship game. Want to discuss what the Rams need to do to break this trend of losing 6 in a row against the 49ers, and this would be the most opportune time for them to do so. It's also the most opportune time for us to welcome in our good friend Lindsey Thiry, who has been covering the Rams throughout this playoff push. Lindsey, love the shot there outside SoFi. Welcome to Bet this afternoon. We appreciate you taking the time this afternoon. So here's some good news for Rams fans. The home team has won the NFC Championship game 6 of the last 8 years. That's 75%. The bad news, though, is that the Rams have not only lost 6 games in a row to the Niners, we know the Niners travel very, very well, and there'll be a lot of red inside SoFi on Sunday. So what has the team been trying to say about the potential for all that noise and just trying to break that streak against a team that has their number?
Yeah, the question's been posed ad nauseum to Coach Sean McVay and several of his players, not only about losing 6 straight, but really the way they lost to the Niners in Week 18. The Rams have stayed away from answering any specifics and have really boiled down each loss to execution. As for how they finally get over that and win against their division rival, I asked receiver Cooper Kupp, who told me there's not some crazy formula. They just need to go out there and play better. As for the noise, Matthew Stafford admitted after the Week 18 Week 18 loss, that the noise caught them off guard. They didn't realize that there were going to be so many Niners fans in the stadium. Sean McVay echoed his quarterback. This time around, you better believe the Rams are more prepared for what is likely to be a very noisy environment inside SoFi Stadium, even when they have the football.
And Lindsey, there's a rumor that the Rams could get back as many as 5 injured players. What's the injury update that you're hearing?
Yeah, left tackle Andrew Whitworth, he is returning from an ankle and knee injury that he suffered in the wild card game. It kept him sidelined against the Bucs. And then safety Taylor Rapp, Week 18, he suffered a concussion. He's been working through the protocol, and he also is expected to return, which is really good news for their secondary. They've been down both their starting safeties the last 2 games, and in fact had to bring Eric Weddle out of retirement. So Taylor Rapp's a big bonus for that secondary to get back.
All right, Lindsey breaking it down outside SoFi. Calm right now in L.A., but things are about to get turned up on Sunday afternoon. We appreciate you, Lindsey, dropping by Bet this afternoon and dropping that knowledge. All right, after hearing what Lindsey had to say about the Rams' mental state with the way the Niners have dominated, about how they plan to counter what is going to be a very pro 49ers crowd, and then giving those updates on the injuries that the Rams have been dealing with, let's dive into this game, Erin. We have the Rams installed as a 3.5-point favorite, a total of 46 for Sunday's second game. You see on the screen there what the Niners have done. How are you approaching either side or total in this matchup?
So as you know, Tyler, I like to deep dive into some of the most random markets. And the first half spread isn't really a random market, but what's interesting about this is the Rams are -3 for the first half spread. And for the game, they're -3.5. So it's pretty surprising because usually you see that number cut in half. I still like the Rams -3 in this one. They've covered in the last 5 games. 4-1-1 against the spread in that first half. They've actually been great as opposed to the San Francisco 49ers, who are 2-3 against the spread in the first half. I mean, the Rams were up 21-0 on the Cardinals. They were up 20-3 on the Bucs. And the last time these two teams met, the Rams were up 17-3. Now we know these teams had, come back in the second half. So that's why I really like taking them in that first half. Of course, the Cardinals didn't because they didn't even show up. But nonetheless, I don't really trust them in that second half. So I'm looking at the Rams playing them -3 in the first half.
Yeah, I think for the game, that extra hook on top of the Niners provides value. Take away the 6-game win streak, 3.5 for this team that's coming into, again, what will be a very pro 49ers environment. Even if they lose, and it's by a game-winning field goal from Matt Gay, that extra hook is so much value for a team that matches up so well with the best in the NFL. You mentioned how they went to Dallas and got that win and shut down that prolific offense. Go to Lambeau, get that win, and shut down that prolific offense. Now they're going to be in an environment that's going to be very beneficial and helpful to them when they're on defense against that prolific Rams offense. So I like the 3.5 for the Niners. If it was a different price, I may be willing to back my team, but I think the value there with that hook is on the 49ers. Prop market, we know you like to dabble from time to time there, Erin. What stands out in this matchup?
I missed your little toss up to me, so it was my ear. Can you repeat?
Yeah, I just want to know the prop market because you are a prop queen here. So what props do you like for this NFC Championship matchup?
Okay, for this NFC Championship matchup, this is what I'm liking. All right, Chris. Wait, I'm so lost here. NFC matchup, are we going Rams 49ers right now? Or are we doing the first game?
Yep. Yeah, we're on NFC title game. You like Debo, you like Cooper Kupp to find the end zone?
Chris Jones to record a sack. I like this +100. That's the first game. I'm getting confused here. Now I'm out of all sorts here. We're moving on to this.
Yeah, we're in the San Francisco Rams game, and you like a couple of wide receivers.
We were still in the Rams game. Sorry, I'm confused. Sorry, I'm lost there. Okay, I like a TD scorer parlay. Usually I like to do the anytime touchdown scores, but if you parlay both of these, you're going to get them at over +200. So I like Cooper Kupp. He's had 16 touchdowns this season, 2 in the postseason. And then for Debo Samuel, he's already had 1 touchdown already in this postseason, but had 3 against his team. So if you parlay both of these players, Debo Samuel and Cooper Kupp, you can get it at over +200 because if you take them anytime touchdown score, it's just not a great market for that.
All right, I'm looking at a couple of running backs in this matchup, Erin, and I'm waiting for a Cam Akers attempt prop to come out, but Eli Mitchell on the Niners side, the guy is just getting fed the football. He fits the personality and identity of this San Francisco team. 17.5 rush attempts. I'm going over. He only had 17 against Green Bay. But the 6 games prior to that, he was over 20, including that Week 18 matchup against the Rams when they were in a negative game script where they were trailing. So I think Kyle Shanahan's going to feed him and Debo Samuel and just try and, as they have the last 6 wins, run right at and over the LA Rams defense. Then Cam Akers. I think he will get fed the football, just like he has all throughout this postseason. But the Niners' rush defense has been awesome in this playoffs. So even if he gets 18, 19, 20 carries, which I project, I don't think he's going to be punished for the 2 fumbles against Tampa Bay. I think the efficiency will be down, so I'm under 59.5 rush yards. And if I'm wrong, and Sean McVay does turn over more usage to Sony Michel because of the fumbles, where there's an added element that's going to help you for Cam Akers under 59.5 rushing yards. So that's a look at the NFC title game. Let's flip the script, of course, and go to the first game we'll see on Sunday, the AFC title game. And to get things started, we need to check in with our buddy Jeremy Fowler for an update on a key piece of that Chiefs defense.
Chiefs are getting good news on the injury front. Safety Tyrann Mathieu back at practice on Thursday. The team is optimistic that he'll practice again on Friday and be cleared by an independent doctor in time for kickoff on Sunday. Coach Andy Reid said that Mathieu was moving around well on the practice field. And how important is Mathieu to the Chiefs' defensive plans? Cornerback L'Jarius Sneed said that Mathieu calls out the offensive play to his cornerbacks before every snap. Now on offense, running back Darrell Williams, I'm told, is feeling much better on his toe injury that kept him out last week. He does plan to play. Back to you.
Jeremy, thank you very much for that report from KC outside Arrowhead Stadium. It's our turn now, Erin, to dive into this game. We have discussed it a little bit at length already, but 7-point home favorite. 54.5 total for this matchup. How you looking at side or total in the AFC title game?
I'm looking at Kansas City first half team total over 16.5 points. Now, we know Kansas City is putting up big numbers, 42 points in each of their last 2 games. But the last time these 2 teams met, there were 45 first half points, and Kansas City accounted for 28 of them. That was a huge chunk. So I think they come out and they start out hot. They were able to put up more than 16.5 points against the Steelers, but they only put up 14 points against the Bills. But again, the Bills had the #1 ranked defense. So considering they're going against the Bengals, I do think they'll be able to get over 16.5 total points in that first half.
Yeah, you see some scoring, especially from the Chiefs side in the first half. I like this game to go over its total, as I mentioned before, 54.5. I think both QBs show up and they light up the scoreboard. If I had to pick which offense I'm more confident in providing points to the scoreboard, it would be the Chiefs side. The team total for the game is 31.5, and I will attack that and play that over as well because Mahomes at home with those weapons in the postseason, the guy is just an absolute stud. So I think it's over for the game. I do like the Chiefs team total as well going over, but I think it's a shootout. I think it's a, both teams wouldn't be shocked at all if both get to 30 points in this game. Now, I think it teased us a little bit earlier with what props you're looking at in this game. Kansas City, Cincinnati player prop market. Erin, what you got?
So I'm looking at Chris Jones to record a sack in this one. Now, we know with Joe Burrow, unfortunately, his offensive line cannot block for him. He was sacked 9 times last game. He's been sacked 11 times in the postseason, and he was 9? What?
9 times. That's an old Ferris Bueller reference there when the old...
is that a Ferris Bueller reference?
Yeah, Ferris Bueller reference 9 times with his principal. But, yeah, I love what you're putting out there, Erin, because any offensive line is going to give up 9 sacks. Go look at who they're playing the next week, and the best pass rusher on that D-line is Chris Jones. I think this is a very, very smart player prop bet you got.
Yes. No, for sure. And the fact that he's been sacked 51 times on the season just goes to show that, this is going to be a reoccurring issue for this offensive line. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs were able to get at him, and especially Chris Jones, to get at him at least once. And I see it on some books at plus money, so you should go bet that.
Ooh, I like that. Plus money for Chris Jones to get after Joe Burrow. I would be all over that as well. I mentioned, Erin, I think this is going to be a shootout. I think both quarterbacks bring their A game. And I looked at the yardage prop, and both of them sitting under 300 yards. Joe Burrow at 287.5, Patrick Mahomes at 288.5. I would absolutely go over theirs. You know what I have to say about the NFC title game with those running backs. I think these 2 quarterbacks in the AFC title game absolutely light it up. I think Burrow goes over 300 yards, especially if he is in chase mode. If Mahomes and co get out to that big first half or early second half lead, Burrow's going to be dropping back and trying to find his targets. And you know the best way for the Chiefs to maximize their chances of getting back to another Super Bowl is put the ball in 15's hands, let him drop back, and let him throw that pill all over the place. So I'm seeing scoring. I'm seeing a lot of passing production. That's why I'm playing both QBs over their total. As long as it's under that 295, I think there's some value. I think you're getting value on 287 with Burrow and 288 with Patrick Mahomes. All right, we got sides, we got props. We will dive into this game one more time on Sunday morning's edition of Daily Wager, but that's it. So, Erin, what bold prediction do you have for this weekend? We just saw the craziest round of football maybe we've ever seen in the divisional round with those 4 games. How can we top that? Give me a bold, crazy prediction that you hope comes true this weekend.
So I'm going to go with a bold prediction revolving around a kicker. No surprise, considering how last week shaped up. But I'm going to go with Evan McPherson. He will have 10 points in this game. Now, his player prop is set at 6.5. The last time he played Kansas City, he had 10 points. On top of that, in the last 2 games, he's had a combined 27 points in the postseason so far. He had 13 points last game, and that was actually more points than, Joe Burrow's even scored in terms of a touchdown. So for me, I really think that could potentially be something that happens in this game, especially if it goes into a shootout and these teams are going back and forth and it comes down to a field goal. I think he should be having at least 10 points in that game.
Yeah, McPherson's been an absolute stud rookie kicker for the Bengals all season long, a bona fide weapon for Zach Taylor. We just saw the Chiefs play that thrilling overtime game against the Bills. We saw McPherson save the Bengals from an overtime game against the Titans. I say it's back-to-back OT games at Arrowhead Stadium. I think the Chiefs and the Bengals go to overtime, and if you feel like wagering on that, there's a price. 12-1 plus 1,200 for that game, the AFC title game, to go into overtime. So I think we get another crazy wild finish at Arrowhead with Burrow and Mahomes just absolutely trading haymakers. Whoever gets the ball first and wins that coin toss wins the game. 12-1 OT if you want that in the AFC title game. All right. Good stuff all day long here on Bet. I want to thank Jeremy Fowler and Lindsey Thiry for helping us out. She is Erin Dolan. I am Tyler Fulghum. Next time we'll see you here on Bet Sunday, on Championship Sunday. Adios. Have a good night gambling.